Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today, we're going to explore a wonderful teaching. This comes from Catherine Ponder, the amazing New Thought author and teacher and unity minister who has taught lessons in prosperity and healing and has developed some amazing affirmations. We have covered Catherine Ponder in several recent episodes, including some meditations as well as the dynamic laws of prosperity. Today I want to talk about something that is so powerful and very true that you must remind yourself of, and that's an ancient secret for happy living, something that Ponder calls the art of blessing. This comes from her amazing book, Prosperity Secrets of the Ages: How to Channel a Golden River of Riches into Your Life. I will also read some additional literature and talk about my own concept of blessing and the ways that you can use it to create an amazing reality with all things good. Your life can become truly a blessing when you understand this ancient secret. Ponder explains that you can begin to practice one of the basic secrets for happy living. As you do, that practice can transform your life. The ancient secret for happy living was the act of blessing. Most of us have heard the term blessing, bless you, or even I blessed him out. But seldom have we realized the power we have to experience health, harmony, and prosperity through the ancient practice of blessing. As presented in the book of Genesis, the act of blessing was the Hebrews' favorite method of prayer. Only twice are other methods of prayer mentioned, once when Abraham prayed for the healing of King Abimelech, Genesis 20:17, and again when Isaac went forth at eventide to meditate, Genesis 24:63. However, there are numerous instances in which the Hebrews invoked the power of prayer through blessing. The Hebrews of Genesis loved to voice blessings and to predict the good that would come to those whom they blessed. If any Hebrew was to receive a spoken blessing, he did not want anyone to stand in his way of accepting that blessing. He considered a blessing to be a priceless gift. The ancients felt that a blessing carried great power to accomplish good. The Lord pointed out the power of blessing to Abraham when he advised, "I will bless thee, and be thou a blessing." Genesis 12:2. Jacob felt that a blessing was so desirable that he even stole the blessing which his father intended to bestow upon his brother Esau. The dictionary explains why there is a dynamic power for good in the simple act of blessing. To bless means to make holy or whole by spoken words. To bless means to ask divine favor for some situation or condition. To bless means to wish a person or situation well. To bless a thing and it will bless you. Curse it and it will curse you. If you put your condemnation upon anything in life, it will hit back at you and hurt you. If you bless a situation, it has no power to hurt you. And even if it is troublesome for a time, it will gradually fade out if you sincerely bless it. This man decided to start using the power of blessing instead of cursing on a troublesome coworker. For a time, he was able to silently bless the one in question. One day, in a state of agitation, however, he was tempted to curse instead of bless. Trying hard to think and say the right thing, with clenched teeth, he blurted out, "God bless you." And you know what I mean. Sometimes we begin using the power of blessing in a similar way. A mind that has long been trained to criticize may not always wish to bless and behold the good. But as we persist in training our thoughts to bless, it becomes easier, and each happy result obtained from the habit of blessing makes our efforts well worthwhile. Blessing makes bad checks good. Another businessman recently proved that it pays to bless and not curse a troublesome situation. He was asked by a superior to take 2 bad checks to the bank and try to cash them. When his superior had previously attempted to cash them on various occasions, he had been informed that there was insufficient funds in the account. The superior spoke strong, critical words about the checks and about the customers who had written them as he handed them to this employee. The employee began immediately blessing them, thinking of them as good checks. At the bank, he was informed that this time there was a sufficient balance in the customer's accounts to make these checks good. When he returned to the office with cash in hand, his superior was amazed. He said to his boss, "Let me share a little success secret with you. Curse a thing and it will curse you. Bless a thing and it will bless you." The boss replied, "I like that approach. It sounds reasonable, especially since you just proved it." Blessing for health. The power of blessing knows no limit. It can be successfully applied to every phase of life. A businessman recently spoke of how the power of blessing had worked to help him and his wife experience renewed health, youth, and vitality after many years of health problems. They learned of the power of blessing and began to daily bless their bodies with the thought of renewed health. Gradually, a number of healings took place, and for the first time in years, they were free from pain. A little later, friends visited them whom they had not seen for many years. The friends knew of the various health problems that had plagued them and expected their appearance to bear witness to ill health. The friends were amazed at how youthful and healthy this man and his wife were. Of course, they immediately wanted to know how this couple had managed to regain their health and to look so young. The reply was that the habit of blessing the body as a temple of the living God was their secret. They had literally followed the advice of the Apostle Paul. "Know ye not that your body is a temple of the living God which is in you? Glorify God therefore in your body." 1 Corinthians 6:19-20. The statement of blessing they had daily used to restore their health had been, "I give thanks that my body is a temple of the living God. I now praise, bless, and glorify divine health in my body." Blessing reduces weight. A mother used the power of blessing to help her teenage son lose 17 pounds of excess weight in 3 months. This boy had been overweight since birth. Doctors had said repeatedly that it was a gland condition and that nothing could be done about it. In his early teens, this child became very conscious of his weight problem and felt he could bear it no longer. The usual methods for losing weight had not worked for him over the years, and so it seemed a hopeless problem. Finally, his mother heard of the dynamic power of blessing. She and her son agreed that instead of criticizing or condemning his weight problem further, they would begin to praise and bless his body with the thought of perfect weight. It was agreed that whenever the boy thought of the subject, he would say to himself, "I'm not fat. My body is blessed with perfection now." Meanwhile, his mother began to take a little time daily to bless him with the thought of perfect weight. The statement she used was this: "I bless you as a radiant child of God. I bless your mind, body, and affairs as they now express radiant perfection." This young man shed 17 pounds in 3 months. He and his mother plan to continue this blessing technique until his weight is completely normal. Blessing improves European trip. Retired businessman used the power of blessing to produce happy results in still another area of life. On a trip to Europe, his wife had recently passed on, and her death had naturally been a shock to him. Finally, he decided to take a trip abroad in an effort to gain a new lease on life. At first, it looked as though the trip was a mistake. Everything was going wrong. There was one couple in this tour group who were particularly unpleasant. They loudly voiced their criticism of the travel and hotel accommodations and of the European way of life generally. This businessman silently blessed this couple for a number of days and finally felt the time had come to speak to them directly. He said, "Why don't you try holding some good thoughts about this trip instead of criticizing it? You are making everyone's trip unbearable by your own unpleasantness. You're being very selfish. Why don't you stop criticizing and start blessing this fine trip and these wonderful European people?" At the time of this conversation, the tour group was in Spain. This couple meekly asked what his religion was and how they could use the power of blessing. He explained that he was a student of practical Christianity. He then took from his pocket the well-known Daily Word magazine published by the non-denominational Unity School, which is read daily by people around the world. He explained that its daily messages helped him to successfully practice the ancient art of blessing by holding good thoughts. Upon hearing the conversation, a woman in the group exclaimed that she was also a Daily Word reader, and she took an identical copy of the little magazine from her purse. It was then agreed that each morning, in order to help the entire tour group hold good thoughts, to bless and enjoy the day's trip. This businessman would read the daily word message for that day to the entire group. Then the group would declare aloud together the day's affirmative prayer statement found in the daily word lesson. It proved an enjoyable experience for the entire group, and it changed the atmosphere of their trip. It's more powerful than money or politics. In these times, many people have come to believe that money and politics are all powerful. There is nothing wrong with money and politics when rightly used, but the power of blessing is more powerful than either of these. When they are being wrongly used, I once had the privilege of observing the power of blessing as it delivered a group of 40 businessmen out of the clutches of the wrong use of money and political power. These men were being prosecuted in court by a group of several hundred professional people. The larger group claimed that these 40 men were operating illegally in their business affairs, and they meant to put them out of business. Knowing several of the 40 men, it seemed highly improbable to me that they were handling their business affairs illegally. The larger group had $300,000 with which to obtain the best legal counsel and to prosecute these 40 men. As I read the news accounts of this situation, the reports seemed biased in casting the men being sued in an unfavorable light. Indeed, it seemed from all reports that the powerful money and politics involved might be sufficient to accomplish the blessing of the larger group. Not only did the men being sued have little money, but they had absolutely no political pull. However, they did believe in the power of prayer and success attitudes. They began saying, "We will not accept the idea that we are going to be put out of business by money and politics." They asked me, a non-denominational minister, to meet and pray with them about the matter. I shall never forget the experience. These men and their wives of various faiths and denominations gathered in family fashion at one of their homes. They joined me in meditating upon the divine promises of protection found in the 27th Psalm. Jehovah is my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Though a host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, even then will I be confident. I had fainted unless I had believed to see the goodness of Jehovah in the land of the living. Wait for Jehovah, be strong, and let thy heart take courage. Yea, wait thou for Jehovah. It was then explained how we could see the goodness of Jehovah in the land of the living by blessing all concerned rather than criticizing or condemning them. We then blessed the entire group of men who were suing them. I bless you, and bless you for the goodness of God that is now working in and through you. We then named the specific leaders of that group and verbally blessed those men with the same statements. The names of the judges, the attorneys for both sides, the newspapers reporting the news, and the leaders of the group of 40 men being sued were all blessed individually. Words of blessing were spoken by the group in unison for everything and everybody involved. Almost from the instant, the power of blessing was decreed. The troublesome situation began to improve. The attitude of the larger group of men began to soften and seem less harsh. The judge and attorneys for the other group became more cooperative. Less adverse publicity appeared in the papers. The trials of these 40 men continued, though every case ended in a mistrial. Finally, the prosecution of these men was rescheduled for another court term several months later. During this interval, the men being sued continued to bless the entire situation and to decree the goodness of God concerning it. During this period of several months, all the previous excitement, commotion, and bad feeling seemed to completely vanish. When the rescheduled cases began trial again, everything was very quiet. There was almost no publicity given to the situation. The first man's case ended in a verdict of mistrial. On the morning that the case of the second man was scheduled to begin trial, all 40 men were called into a private room by one of the court authorities, who informed them that the judge had a statement to make. The court officials stated that newsmen would be present when the statement was made, and this official asked these men not to display any emotion or reaction to it. Obviously, something startling was to be announced. When the judge appeared, he briefly stated that the court had decided it would not be necessary to continue hearing these cases, and that all charges against these 40 men were being dismissed. No visible emotion was displayed by these men, only silent gratitude and thanks that the goodness of God had prevailed. The power of blessing had done for these men what $300,000 and supposedly vast political influence had not been able to do against them. I soon received a letter of thanks from the 40 men who had been exonerated, and several of them began attending my church services. I have witnessed the power of blessing work the miraculous and impossible in legal conflicts. Usually when the power of blessing has been invoked early in the conflict, the problem never reaches a court, but is quietly and harmoniously settled out of court. Bless the traffic. I recall how the power of blessing helped me in heavy traffic. One afternoon I found myself at a busy intersection where there was no light that would allow me to get into the stream of homebound traffic. There seemed no possibility of my entering it from a side street at this busy hour, until I remembered the power of blessing. It was then that I began to declare for each car that passed by, "I bless you, and bless you for the goodness of God that is at work in you." Suddenly a man looked at me from the busy stream of traffic, immediately stopped his car, and waved me into the homebound stream of cars. I silently gave thanks for the power of blessing working through that man as I waved at him. A few days later, not realizing how late it was, I again found myself at the same intersection, futilely hoping to again get into the 5 o'clock rush. My first reaction was to condemn myself for having not remembered to take another route home at this busy hour. Realizing, however, that this line of thought did not solve the problem, I again began to bless the stream of traffic passing before me. This time, suddenly, it was a woman driver who noticed my plight. She slowed down and waved me into the stream of cars. When the power of blessing causes one woman driver to respond to the need of another, it is truly a success power. Bless every situation. Begin now to bless every experience that comes into your life. When you bless a problem, injury, lack, or an enemy, you are calling forth the good within them, and you will be pleasantly surprised at the good that comes through them. Bless your money. Bless your debts. Bless your problems. Bless your food. Bless your body and your health. Bless your mail, your work, your tools. Bless your family, business associates, and friends. Above all, bless your enemies or those troublesome, trying people in your life. Wherever there is a lack, slip in a blessing. You can bless an empty purse into a full, happy one. Say to yourself often, "I improve every condition in my life by blessing it." Even bless your income taxes. A businessman learned a lesson in blessing the last thing that most people ever want to bless, the payment of their income taxes. For some time, this man had been criticizing the payment of his taxes. One year, he had been particularly critical, but he had the money on hand to pay the taxes by the deadline. Only after grudgingly waiting until the last minute did he pay them, along with speaking words of strong condemnation about his taxes. The next year, even though he had a good year financially, he found as the tax deadline approached that he did not have any money in reserve with which to pay his taxes. Finally, in desperation, he borrowed the money from the bank at the last minute. He then spent the rest of the year struggling to repay the loan. By the time he finally repaid all of it, it was time to pay the next year's taxes. For several years, this man struggled along in this manner, complaining every step of the way about paying his taxes. Finally, he heard that if he blessed a thing, it would bless him, whereas if he cursed a thing, it would hit back at him and curse him. He realized that perhaps he had been his own worst enemy, where his income tax payments were concerned. He thought back to previous years before he had become so critical of his tax payments, and realized that he had always had the money to pay them. It was only after he began to contemn the tax situation that he had to borrow the money each year and then struggle to repay it, just in time to start the process all over again. Though it meant adopting a whole new line of thought, this man decided to bless the payment of his taxes, deliberately, hoping that the act would bless him with enough money to pay them without struggle. As he began blessing the payment of his taxes, he was able to pay them with cash on hand, though he had to wait until the last moment to do so. He continued to bless them and never again had to borrow money or struggle to get them paid, for the money has always been available to meet this obligation. As this man continued to bless the payment of his taxes, he was able to begin filing a tax estimate at the beginning of the year and to pay his taxes in advance. This has given him a real peace of mind and a feeling of prosperous security. Now he feels that he is ahead of the game. Instead of lagging and struggling behind it, he has proved to his own satisfaction that if you bless a thing, it will bless you. And if you curse a thing, it will curse you. Interestingly enough, as he continued blessing the tax situation, he felt guided to tithe, thereby greatly reducing his taxes. Use this ancient success secret often. As Paul advised, bless and curse not, Romans 12:14. Never underestimate this ancient secret for happy living. It is a simple but powerful way to release great good into your life, and it will work to improve every phase of your world. If you will invoke it, use often the dynamic power of blessing by declaring, I begin now to bless everything in my life as good, good, good. It can then prove to be so. Now, after reading this amazing chapter from Catherine Ponder, I began to have the most amazing experience related to blessings. Remembering this technique, I was driving to the airport and it was getting late and was stuck and I had to drop somebody off. My first instinct was to express frustration, and I had noticed previously that my reactions sometimes were negative reactions to things, especially in environments like bad traffic or something wrong happening. So I've been trying to work on my reactions, and I found that the blessing was the secret. I started to bless the traffic, each car individually, the road that we were on, my car, and it was like the sea opened up and the cars opened up and I was able to go exactly where I needed to go. So do you have an enemy in your life? Do you have somebody that frustrates you immensely, that causes anxiety, fear, or anger in your body? Bless them. It's hard to do. It's beyond just forgiving. It's blessing them and seeing good things for them. This can be hard, but your inability to bless is also a spiritual lesson. If you find yourself in a situation where you are saying to yourself, I can't bless him, I cannot bless that person, they're such a terrible, horrible person, there's no way I can bless them. You are actually saying that you can't bless yourself when you do that. So I have worked on this and learned that there were a lot of situations and things I did not want to bless. They had evoked anger within me. And this blessing technique was very similar to the balancing exercise in the Law of One. So this is what I would recommend that you do. This is the process that I have followed. On awakening, bless this day, for it is already full of unseen good, which your blessings will call forth. For to bless is to acknowledge the unlimited good that is embedded in the texture of the universe and awaiting each and all. On passing people in the street, on the bus, in places of work and play, bless them. The peace of your blessing will accompany them on their way, and its aura will be a light on their path. On meeting people and talking to them, bless them in their health, their work, their joy, their relationship to the universe, themselves and others. Bless them in their abundance and their finances. Bless them in every conceivable way, for such blessings not only sow seeds of healing, but one day will spring forth as flowers in the waste places of your own life. As you walk, bless the city in which you live, its government and teachers, its nurses and street sweepers, its children and bankers, its priests and prostitutes. The minute anyone expresses the least aggression or unkindness to you, respond with a blessing. Bless them totally, sincerely, joyfully, for such blessings are a shield that protects them for the ignorance of their misdeed and deflects the arrow that was aimed at you. To bless, it means to wish unconditionally and from the deepest chamber of your heart, unrestricted good for others and events. It means to hallow, to hold in reverence, to behold with awe that which is always a gift from the Creator. He who is hallowed by your blessing is set aside, consecrated, holy, whole. To bless is to invoke divine care upon, to speak or think gratefully for, to confer happiness upon, although we ourselves are never the bestower, but simply the joyful witnesses of life's abundance. To bless all without distinction is the ultimate form of giving, because those you bless will never know from whence came the sudden ray that burst through their clouds of their skies, and you will rarely be a witness to the sunlight in their lives when something goes completely askew in your day. when some unexpected event upsets your plans and upsets you. Burst into blessing. This is the lesson that has come to me. For life is teaching you a lesson, and the very event you believe to be unwanted, you yourself called forth so as to learn the lesson you might balk against, were you not to bless it. Trials are blessings in disguise, and hosts of angels follow in their path. To bless is to acknowledge the omnipresent, universal beauty hidden from material eyes. It is to activate that law of attraction, which from the furthest reaches of the universe will bring into your life exactly what you need to experience and enjoy. When you pass a prison, mentally bless its inmates in their innocence and freedom, their gentleness, pure essence, and unconditional forgiveness, for one can only be a prisoner of one's self-image, and a free man can walk unshackled in jail, just as citizens of a free country may be prisoners of the fear lurking within their thoughts. When you pass a hospital, bless its patients in their present wholeness, for even in their suffering their wholeness awaits discovery within them. When your eyes behold a man in tears or seemingly broken by life, bless him in his vitality and joy, for the material senses present, but the inverted image of the ultimate splendor and the perfection that only the inner eye beholds. It is impossible to bless and judge at the same time. So hold constantly as a deep, hallowed, intoned thought the desire to bless, for truly then shall you become a peacemaker. One day you shall behold everywhere the very face of God. I love what David Spangler writes in his beautiful book, Blessing, the Art and the Practice. Blessing is not a technique we perform, but a presence we embody. It is not an act we do to someone or something, but a relationship we form with them that enables us all to be embraced in the presence of an unobstructed world. He adds that a blessing can take many shapes: a hug, a tone of voice, a word or glance. What makes it a blessing is the spirit we bring to it, the intention behind it. Create your own ways of blessing. There are no set formulas. My way of blessing has changed over the years. At the present, when I bless people in the street, on the bus, or anything I say in my heart, I love you, I bless you, in divine perfection and harmony. I try to really feel the love, and this forces me to look beyond their physical appearance, which is not always very inviting, to the hidden, harmonious, perfect spiritual reality behind. Try blessing. You'll be the first to benefit. Caitlin Matthews, in her book, The Little Book of Celtic Blessings, shows that blessings have long been used in all circumstances of life. Many blessings rest on the understanding that there exists a universal power, a fundamental principle of harmony governing all things to which people may appeal. Here, for instance, is blessing for a lover. You are the star of each night. You are the brightness of every morning. You are the story of each guest. You are the report of every land. No evil shall befall you, on hill nor bank, in field or valley, on mountain or in glen, neither above nor below, nor in sea or shore, in skies above nor in the depths. You are the kernel of my heart. You are the face of my sun. You are the harp of my music. You are the crown of my company. The following biblical passage from Deuteronomy 28:3-8 stresses beautifully and poetically how concretely blessing applies to every situation in life. Blessed shalt thou be in the city, and blessed shalt thou be in the field. Blessed shalt be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall be the basket in thy store. Blessed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall command the blessing upon thee in thy storehouses, and in all that thou settest thine hand unto, and he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. The Lord thy God is you, and you are the blesser, and this ancient practice is fundamental to understand and know of. The ancient spiritual teachers understood the extraordinary power of thoughts, both good and bad, that we have only started to rediscover. Yes, I talk about it every day on my podcast, but still, when you go out into the world, very few people are aware of the power of their thoughts. They can literally give life or kill. Thus the book of Exodus 21:17 condemns to death he who has cursed his parents. And in the struggle between Jacob and the angel in Peniel, in Genesis 32, Jacob refuses to let go of the angel before the angel blesses him. This story is to be interpreted in its symbolical sense as the new birth of Jacob, who becomes aware of his spiritual identity. That a practice such as blessing could be so universally widespread in almost all cultures, probably since the beginning of time, stresses an important factor: the slow awakening of humanity to a fundamental reality which could be called the law of the attraction of good, a concept we are talking about every day. At the deepest level, blessing implies a sense of the sacred, of some hidden abundance available to those who open themselves up to it through this practice, of some unseen power available to protect and make whole. Most often it refers to good received from a deity through certain practices, and that is probably its most widely accepted sense. For instance, in the Maha Mangala Sutta, the Buddha lists the 38 highest blessings for a Buddhist, such as associating with the wise, right self-guidance, cherishing one's wife or partner, being generous, expressing contentment and gratitude, having an undefiled mind, and so on. But practicing these blessings, we ourselves are blessed, and also those around us. It is much less known that in Judaism, one of the most widespread spiritual practices in the world, blessing constitutes the roots of its practice, its fundamental grounding. The very first chapter of Genesis states that God blessed the creatures he had just brought to life, man and woman. Thus blessing is renewed to Abraham and again to Moses. The blessings received from God constitute the very center of Jewish practice, to the extent that a leading Jewish scholar, Rabbi Walter Homolka, has spoken of a culture of blessing which extends far beyond the prayer service to the smallest acts of everyday life. But it's important to know that you're not blessing just to attract something good into your life. That would be attempting to manipulate the universe. We're trying to work with the universe, not manipulate it. However, the result will be that you will find more and more harmony pouring into your life. You will acquire greater peace of mind, greater poise. These are the added things of which the Bible speaks, the unintended bonus of which Catherine Ponder speaks. So start today, blessing everything that you can think of. Start out practicing blessing. Be experimental. Test different ways of blessing until you feel really good about one. And always stay open to new inspiration. Eventually, as blessing becomes a natural part of your daily life, you will come to discover a way of blessing that is unique and effective to you. Make it your intention to be a sender of blessings. Blessings are not a panacea. They're not a magic wand. You might even need years of joyful, persevering practice of blessing before discovering its true power and all of its ramifications. The well of our inner garden is infinite in its depth and freshness, and we will drink the waters thereof to the extent that we cultivate its proximity and visit it often, in meditation, in prayer, in blessing, and above all, in living love. Just know that one single blessing can make all the difference in the world for someone. Each blessing you send into the universe is like a star, which lights up somewhere. It might sound amazing, but each felt authentic blessing is an act of life, which reverberates to the ultimate reaches of the universe and echoes to the end of time. As Pierre Prodervond says in his book, The Gentle Art of Blessing, let us be senders of blessings, then truly shall we be children of the light. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. I call forth blessings to all that are listening. You are blessed in every facet of your life. I bless you with the divine power that flows through me. I bless you. I bless the love in your life. I bless the health of your body. I bless the prosperity of your bank account. I bless all good things that flow to you in all ways, shapes, and forms. And welcome to the Reality Revolution.